Well, India is at the cusp of a revolution when it comes to technology and, of course, implementing that tech. And who better than India's think tank Niti Aayog to talk about a newly released report on tech, where they'll be talking about how and what are the key findings of the Frontier Tech Report. And I'm joined by Ms. Debjani Ghosh, Distinguished Fellow at Niti Aayog. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us at Business Today, ma'am. First question: tell us about a brief about the report, ma'am. What does it entail? What are your key findings? I was going through it. There were some key issues that have been weeded out. Ghost accounts have been weeded out. So, what is that? Tell us about that, ma'am.
So, as we grow as a digital economy, the foundation on which the digital economy gets built is the data foundation, is the data layer. So that is the most important integral part of the digital economy. And if the data layer is weak, then you cannot build a very robust, effective, impactful digital economy. And this is a worldwide problem. This is not just an India problem. So in this quarter of the Niti Insights, what we have looked at is the entire data problem. Why does it exist? So, if you look at the data life cycle, from the time you generate data to how you store it, to how you use it, to its retirement, that entire life cycle, if you look at it, there are structural problems across. Right? And what we've looked at is one, understanding the issues. Why do they happen? I mean, simple thing, one simple example, incentive systems. Mostly in industry and in government, we incentivize for speed and we incentivize for scale. How much data can you collect and how fast? And when you do that, quality is an afterthought. Right? So there are structural issues. We've identified those. And then we've looked at what is needed to build a culture of data excellence in the country. Right? Because this is going to be our most important asset. And, it's with data, it's rubbish in, rubbish out. So if you feed in bad data, you're going to get flawed outcomes. So you have to improve the quality of your data to get the kind of results we want to get. So that's the focus of the report.
Ma'am, also we heard Secretary Mosby and CEO Niti Aayog also mentioning about the quality of the data. What steps do you think India has to take now to ensure, as you mentioned, that the quality of data that's been fed in is good, because the feed out data should be good. So how do we improve the feed in data?
Yeah. So I think this is first of all, we have to have the right data mindset. We have to move from checklists, dashboards to actually building a culture of data first mindset in the country, which is all about awareness. So this report is aimed to start the conversation, start the awareness about why quality matters and why in today's world it matters more than quantity, matters more than scale. So first stage is awareness. Second stage is there's a need for almost, you can call it data fluency training. Both users as well as government or industry understanding what makes good quality data. What are the stages? What interventions are needed? So data fluency training is very, very important. And then the process, like we've called out, you need to have data accountability. So stewardships, you need to have the right incentive systems. You need to have the right processes in place. So that's, we've called out these interventions that are needed.
And also, do you think, ma'am, being the think tank of the government, do you think there are any policy interventions that need to be done, or probably, a budgetary support could be? The government has actually, over the past few years, given some budgetary support for tech, but a dedicated unit, as I think the CEO Mosby or Mr. CEO was pointing out, there has to be a dedicated unit in the ministries as well. So is there any policy intervention that you think should be done?
Actually, this has to be an integral part of every department, every ministry and every person's work, because everyone is dealing with data. Everyone is collecting data. Everyone is using data today for analysis. So this has to be sort of, universal across. And as Mosby Secretary said, I think Mosby is working with across ministries to build that stewardship or ownership or accountability in each department, which is very important. Another important step, as Mosby Secretary said, is driving harmonization across departments, because otherwise we build silos. And that becomes a huge problem. So these are steps. I mean, these are not easy fixes. They're not overnight fixes, because what we are talking about is a cultural shift. It's not just a process shift. So this takes time, but thankfully, I think we are all moving in the right direction.
Last question, the government and Mr. Piyush Goyal has always been mentioning about, tech disruptions in the country. Ma'am, when do we see our own artificial intelligence being built? You have our own chat GPT. The government has a plan for it, and you are the think tank, and you will have the answer to it for sure. When do we get our own chat GPT or Perplexity AI or whatever?
I think a lot of solutions are already being built, right? They are being built. I think under India AI mission, Mighty is working with multiple startups, companies to get the models, the Indic models being built. I think we have the benefit of learning what has worked, what hasn't worked. Like, for example, right now, if you look at what's happening with AI, a lot of models are getting commoditized, right? What is making sense are much more smaller, vertical models that go deep. So we have learned a lot of good things. And I think we are at that stage where we can take these learnings and build something that will be sustainable, that will be competitive, that will last. So I'm not too worried about that. I think we are building the right solutions, but from a deep tech perspective, we also need to look at patient capital. We need to look at capabilities. We need to look at the right regulation, pro-innovation regulation, while it safeguards security. I think it's like, you have a lot of different pieces. It all has to come together. And I think we are at a stage where we are seeing the movement in the right direction. So I'm sure we will get there.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for speaking to us. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe. If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.